Hey, this is Brian Kurtz coming back at you with another special edition episode of our short Refinance Bootcamp. In the past, we've covered, we talked about an introduction and give you an overview of what a short refinance is. We've talked about the importance of timing and why you need to take action now so that there are actually resources and options available for you. The longer you wait and the more payments you fall behind, the less chance you're actually going to be able to get this done. We've talked about the two types of short refinances out there, the in-house short refinance, also known as aggressive loan modification, and we've also talked about the traditional short refinance where new money is coming in from a new lender to pay off the old lender, but the old lender has to take a discount so that the entire deal falls within the new lender's guidelines. Okay, today we are going to be focusing on the short refinance process itself. In 10 minutes I have to crush down and explain to you exactly what a short refinance is, what goes into it, and exactly how we help your bank realize that they need to work with you on this. Okay, so let's start out by considering the facts that most of the banks out there are not really open to this concept yet. Okay, regardless of the fact that the federal government and basically media pressure from all over the place is being placed on them to really start considering this and taking steps and action on this. I mean, they even passed a law in December of '07 that basically said, look, if you do a short refinance and you have tax consequences, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we're going to kind of forget about that. As long as your lender is willing to work with you, we're not going to make things more difficult. So there's a lot of pressure and a lot of things going on out there encouraging short refinances, okay? But the banks are not fast to catch on into this. In fact, the only bank that I know aggressively, actively recommending this as a solution is GMAC. All the other banks that I deal with have to be led to this conclusion through a long roundabout process in order to get them to understand, hey, maybe this is a good idea. I think this is pretty stupid. You'd think that the banks would actually be very aggressive about this. Consider the facts. If you do a short refinance, right? The banks are losing money, yes, but there's no foreclosure, which is good because the house is not on the market. Now, a short sale is good for the bank too because they end up losing less than if they have to take it back in foreclosure, but still, that doesn't eliminate the fact on a short sale, a sign is going in front of a yard and you have another house on the market, which pushes the values of all the homes down. So the more short refinances we do, the less signs going in front of houses, which means there is less inventory, which causes values to rise, which means the bank's houses that they have taken back in foreclosure are going to be less impacted as well. You'd think they would be thinking about that, but they're not. Okay, that being considered, here is what is involved in the short refinance process. Short refinance is nothing more than a short sale with a twist. Okay? Short sale, it is built on the skeleton, built on the back of a short sale, and then you have the bank take one extra step and understand, okay, we're not moving out of the house, we're staying in the house, and you need to be okay with that because you're getting the same amount of money or more that you would get in a short sale. Okay, that is the idea behind it. So let's think about this. The process starts out like a short sale process. So the short sale process is pretty much goes like this. You get an offer on a house, you prepare this extensive 35 to 55 page package, you put it together, you submit it to the bank for review. That kicks off the process, which typically lasts 8 weeks, about 2 months. And you have a halfway point. The halfway point is when they send their value check person out, either an appraiser or a BPO real estate agent, to check the value on the property and say, okay, this house is, yeah, it's worth about this much. You know, they pretty much want to make sure that you're not trying to get them to accept $150 on a house that's worth $550, you know? They don't want to do that. So they're going to send their guy out. So 8-week process. Right there in the middle is the value check, but in between there, you've got a lot of negotiation going on where we have to give more paperwork, we have to do all these different things, jump through all these hoops to help your bank get to the point where they can make a yes-no decision or a yes-no, but we need a little bit more type of decision. Okay, that being the case, here is what we need to do. It's called triggering the BPO. To trigger the BPO is where you submit a lowball offer or an investor offer or a dummy offer, whatever you want to call it, an offer that is super low and pretty much doesn't have very much chance of being accepted, this time of Sep Tuesday. So that being the case, why do we do this? The reason is because your bank, once again, is probably not thinking about short refinance, so you can't just call them up and say, hey, I want to negotiate a short refinance. Can I apply for a short refinance? It doesn't work that way. You start talking like that and they're like, what are you talking about? You know, we can do loan modifications. We can try to help you out with a short sale. You know, we can do these things, but there's no such thing as a short refinance. Okay, yeah, there is. It's just the guy you're talking to on the phone is like a low man on the totem pole. You never get to call and talk to a senior negotiator. And even the senior negotiator is not going to be thinking about this until you lead them to the conclusion that you need them to come to. All right? So you can't just give them a call up, and then what that means is you're falling into the short sale process. Now, try to call up your bank and say, hey, I want to try a short sale on my house. And you know, am I owe 150? I think the house is worth about 100. Would you accept 90, or would you accept 70, or what? And they'll still be calling you and they'll be like, look, you bring us an offer, then we'll evaluate it. And that's pretty much the standard form answer that you're going to get from your bank, because they're tired of people calling up and saying, if I could, would you? If I could, would you? They don't like to do that. They got 300 files sitting on their desk right now that people have actually submitted paperwork on, and there may be missing paperwork here and there, and they got to call these people up and say, look, you need to get us more paperwork, and so that they can get these files processed and closed out. You need to be in the pile. So your request will not be considered unless you're in the pile. So you have to create a short sale package. This is a short refinance and disguised as a short sale. That's how the process always starts. So you submit your short refinance. What I do for my people, I put an offer in the name of an LLC, and usually it's about 55% of the current market value. So they owe 150, house is only worth 100, and our offer goes in at about 55. Very little chance if 150 is owed, and the current market value, even after being beat down, is 100, the bank is going to accept 55 less costs. Not likely, but gets the process rolling. Because an offer is submitted, they will now open up the negotiation process. If there's no offer submitted, there is no negotiation process. So we put the low offer in, and the process begins the 8-week work through. And when we get to the end, they'll usually say, that's not going to work for us because it's too low. I need you to give me this much of money. We need to walk away with this amount of money. Or if they say it's too low and they don't tell me, then you can say, how much do you need to walk away with? At that point in time, once you have that number, you can then take all of your figures based on a short refinance, based on how much you're going to be able to get in a refinance, and work those numbers backwards in order to meet the magic number that the bank needs in order to green light the deal. So they tell you, hey, I need to walk away with $78,255.24. And you say, bingo, got the number. You take that number, work the entire deal backwards based on a short refinance, and hey, I can go ahead and get a loan based on $100,000. 97% of that is 97. After costs back taxes, it's going to be 89. 89 back to the bank is more than the 78, 250 and 42 cents or whatever the number was. And so then you submit those new figures and that new application over to the bank. They call back and say, what is going on here? That doesn't make any sense. This is a refinance. This isn't a short sale. And you say, oh, I understand that. And you know what? Amazingly enough, this person barely qualifies for a foreclosure bailout loan. And we can actually get this done for you. Now notice, you're getting more. You're getting more money through this short refinance, Mr. and Mrs. Banker, than you would be getting if you had just accepted a short sale. You just told me you would accept 78. You're walking away with like 87 or whatever if you do the short refinance. That's more. Forward it to the senior negotiator and get them to call me, because it totally makes sense as far as I'm concerned. Doesn't it make sense to you? Wouldn't you rather get more than less? And then they start thinking, oh, yeah, I guess maybe that does make sense, all right? But you would never have gotten them to that point. You would never have gotten them to that point if you had not led them through the short sale process by disguising your short refinance as a short sale. It is a bait and switch tactic, but whatever. It's good for them, it's better for them to be able to work with you on this manner, but they would never have thought to do it if they had not been led there. So once again, thanks for watching. You will want to check out the next episode in our series, Short Refinance Bootcamp. Check it out at shortsaleshow.com.